Hello, my name is Anaïs Reno. I'm a jazz singer based in New York City, and you're listening to The Jeremiah Show. And sometime soon, I will be coming out with a new record with the great Peter Bernstein on guitar, David Wong on bass, and Joe Farnsworth on the drums. I'm very excited about it, but since that is not out yet, in the meantime, if you want, you can listen to my debut record called Love Something with the Emmett Cohen Trio, in which we celebrate the music of Duke Ellington and Billy Strayhorn. Thank you so much. Happy listening.
Richard will save that and then we'll get started. Perfect. So while we're doing that, do you know Kelsey Roberts at Birdland?
Yeah, I do.
Is that a girl or a guy?
Girl.
Okay. Oh, it says right behind that, she, her. Um, so yes, Kelsey. So because we're doing the Birdland in Santa Barbara, right?
Hmm.
But it'll probably be a year away after all build out and permits and stuff like that. So I said, let's start to Johnny. I said, let's start promoting Birdland just in New York City, and I'll start interviewing everybody that comes through Birdland. So Kelsey just a minute ago emailed me and she says, I'm reaching out on Johnny's behalf to get the ball rolling on Birdland Radio. I called it Birdland Radio. I would be the best contact for you to get up to date information and coordinate with the possible.
Oh, you're freezing.
Oh,
Oh dear.
that working? Still frozen? You're not frozen.
Okay, you were frozen for a second. Left off at Birdland Radio.
Yeah, basically, she's just saying that she'll coordinate the acts that come through there. That's cool
Cool.
because I want to start having Birdland on everybody's mind.
Yeah, of course. That's really exciting.
Yeah, West Coast, and you better come out too.
I would love to. Whenever you'll have me.
You come out. I think you need to get out of New York for a little while. Why don't you come out here and you can be our every night. You can be like our opener or the person that
Sounds good.
pay lots of
Sounds
money.
like a plan.
You can get a tan. All right, Richard, you ready? Ready to go. Okay. Let me just hold on. All right, let's go. Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. A very, very special guest today on the show. Anaïs Reno. She made her first appearance on this show when she was only 17. Anais, don't worry, you're probably getting close to the age where people will quit referring to your age. That must just drive you nuts. She literally blew me away with her voice and her talent. Seriously. I now have seatbelts on the radio studio chairs. Anais has been involved in the performing arts since she was 8 years old. After winning the 2016 Forte International Competition's Platinum Award at Carnegie Hall, Anais won second place at Michael Feinstein's Great American Songbook Academy competition in the summer of 2015. She was the youngest contestant ever. First place at the Mabel Mercer Foundation competition in New York City. In March of 2019, she was 15. And in 2020, she won the Julie Wilson Award. On November 21st, 2021, she was announced as one of the finalists for Young Arts in Jazz Voice out of 3 voice finalists nationwide. You think I'm done? I'm not done. I'm not done. Studying voice since 2013 with Sarah Toller and the 92nd Street Y, as well as with her father, a former opera singer, Anais graduated in the spring of 2021 from LaGuardia High School, where she studied drama. When we first met her, you were still in high school. Anais is now a college student, and she attends SUNY Purchase, where she is studying jazz voice with Alexis Cole and opera with Sherry Overholt as an Ella Fitzgerald scholar. An Ella Fitzgerald scholar.
Hmm.
Crazy. What is that? That's crazy. When she was 10, Anais began singing with the highly acclaimed professionals in the field and performing in prominent venues. She has performed with the New York Philharmonic and the David Geffen Hall with her own compositions, and she made her Rose Hall debut in Lincoln Center in the Cabaret Convention when she was 15 with KT Sullivan, among many, many other famous personalities in the cabaret world. She also sang at NJPAC, is that New Jersey PAC,
Hmm.
with Billy Stritch and Catherine Russell, and has had several sold out shows at Feinstein's 54 Below and at our mutual good friend Johnny Valente's Birdland with Billy Stritch, Ted Firth, and Emmett Cohen. You think I'm done? I'm not done. Her debut album celebrating. Am I embarrassing you, Anais? You're
I
like,
appreciate the commentary.
you're gonna read the whole bio, aren't you? But it's so good. How could I leave out anything? And it's been a while since
Shucks, you're very nice.
I haven't
Thank
read
you.
your whole bio, I don't think, since the first episode, which is years ago.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think I want our listeners to really fully appreciate who they get to spend the next hour with here.
Shucks, thank you.
No, thank you. I am almost finished, but I have to mention the music on your debut album is just incredible. You celebrate Duke Ellington, one of my favorites, and Billy Strayhorn. The album's titled Love Something. I always want to like stretch that out, but it's Love Something.
Mhm.
Anaïs Reno sings Ellington and Strayhorn with the Emmett Cohen Trio. That's the name of the album. Um, I'll pause for a moment. I'd love you to go to anywhere you buy music and download that album, purchase that album. It was, listen to this. It was released only in 2020, and it received international critical acclaim, as well as climbed to number 6 on the jazz charts after performing in the top 10 for 4 consecutive weeks. Anais has been featured on Inside Edition, Good Day New York, on the New York State of Mind, Welcome Back to New York video with such stars as, is it Adina
Mhm.
Menzel and Stephen Colbert? And you sang America the Beautiful at the 2021 9/11 Mets and Yankee game. That must have just been goosebumps, chills.
That was pretty exciting. It
And
was that was a really that was I was very grateful for that experience. Yeah.
okay, now I'm done, but now we get to talk to you and get to know you.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say welcome
I
back.
very much appreciate that. You
I,
should be my PR manager.
well, if you when you watch the YouTube uh channel and the video on this, Anais had her head down through most of that introduction on her desk. I think I was embarrassing her. But wow, I mean, I have to give you a hand here, by a hand of two, 1, 2.
I'll give
Um,
you a hand.
no,
Please.
no, I mean, what an incredible, you just don't stop, do you? You just keep, it's in you. It's who you are. You are a songbird. You are a musician and such an artist, a true artist.
Thank you.
Well, so let me give you the official welcome back, Anais, my
Yay.
young old friend.
Yay.
And
I'm so happy to be back. Thank you.
we've missed you for sure.
Me
So
too.
you live in a dorm, um, but that is when you can get in to that dorm.
I can get into the dorm. I was having an issue with my key because I can't do basic tasks like using a key. So my
Those
friend had to help me.
those keys are tricky.
Yeah, well, or maybe they're not, and I just don't know how to use keys. But
Well, Anais, what we're referring to is we had a phone call earlier and she couldn't get into her dorm, but she's at her dorm now. I'm glad to say safe and sound. And what's that like being in a dorm now? Last time we spoke, you were at your home in New York City.
I mean, it's pretty dormy, you know. It's a cool experience. You definitely get the freedom of college life as anybody would, which is nice, and it's very convenient here at Purchase because I still am pretty close to the city, so I can go back and forth a lot. That was a big thing in terms of choosing colleges for me, his location. But I still have that little bubble, that little separation. And my roommate is wonderful. This is the second year in a row that we're living together.
Mm.
And I live with a couple other of my friends. I like dorm life. It's very nice.
Do you like, is it fun? You don't strike me as, from our other conversations, as like the college party girl, but maybe I'm wrong. Is it fun to be away from home?
I wouldn't say I'm particularly a partier. Not that Purchase is exactly known for its partying. It's definitely had its moments, but it's a conservatory. You know, it's a lot of art students, and so it's a lot of performances on campus more so than parties, I'd say.
Mhm.
But it's very wonderful to be surrounded by all these hardworking, artistic, and very innovative minds that I can call my friends. So
I
it's
bet.
nice in that way.
I bet being around creativity spark your creativity and creative people.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons I love this show and getting to talk to you, because it's a, to talk to an artist or someone who is creating and who is searching, rather than someone that's just doing the 9 to 5, although I'm sure they have dreams and they're creative as well.
Yeah.
It's just it's a to me it's a energizing conversation, and a person that, okay, if you're a casual fan observing from the outside, your life looks incredible, your success is mesmerizing, your talent is envied, but you actually grew up on the mean streets of New York City.
The glory.
Yeah, yeah. Or, but New York City streets and the clubs and the pressure you feel as an artist, no matter what age, and the music industry can be overwhelming at times, can't it? Isn't it overwhelming at times?
Of course. I mean, it is for everybody, no matter what outlet you grew up experiencing music through, or anything creative, really. It's definitely tough, especially at a young age. I think when people in any environment, but especially a city environment, see that somebody is interested in something like that from a young age, let alone if they think that that person is good at it, they very much like to put that person in the spotlight, which in some ways is an incredible thing. You know, you get these opportunities from a young age, you get to meet all these people, and I feel very grateful for the leg up that I'm fully aware I have had.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it puts some pressure. I think whether it's academically or musically or whatever outlet it's in, I think kids who are who grow up with a lot of pressure on them can experience that kind of firing back on them a little bit as they grow up. But, you know, that is not just in my situation or even in my friends or even in a city or musical environment. That's no matter who you are, of course. But those are just my thoughts on that because I know you and I were talking about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, we did talk with, for people that are listening, Anais and I were going to do the New Year's Eve show together a few weeks back, and I got the flu, and then her piano player got the flu. Uh, so we've kind of, this conversation has morphed into what we wanted to talk about. Originally, you were going to play a lot of live music for us, And then we just started thinking, let's have a conversation. We always have such great conversations, it seems, together.
Yeah.
And we talked about making this episode about young musicians, young musicians' perspective of life in New York City, because from the outside it looks so exciting, and there's so many people around the world that want to get to New York City and take a shot at their chance, their dream. I want to use New York City throughout this conversation almost as a metaphor for life, and for the world. It's a city, a world in its own. And so this story, Anais, and for everybody listening, this is New York City through your eyes, through your feelings, through your experiences. And we're going to talk about stories from your life that inspired particular life perspective for you, and a moment or circumstances that determined choices and choices that you made on how you wanted to live, how you wanted to treat people, how you would wish at certain points you had been treated on your climb to success, in your craft and your art. And there's times when you're overwhelmed, and when we're all overwhelmed by life, in the city, these experiences that you're having within the city walls, um, they helped shape you. And sometimes you said, as I pitched like a romantic idea of the city, you like you always do, shot back honestly. It's a perceived glory of the city.
Hmm.
And I love that. I wrote that down. I thought, you're right. It's a perceived glory. What is it like to navigate that big city that you come from, that you grow up in, as a younger person, and as you grow into a young adult?
I think, like I said before, there are huge pros and there are definitely cons, as with everything, of course. I think something that I've been incredibly privileged to experience is, for one, my parents are musicians. My mom's a violinist. My dad used to be an opera singer. So I got to grow up around music and people who knew what they were talking about in that regard. So when I started to get into jazz and performing, they were full throttle there for me to make that happen. And I know that's not something that everybody gets to say for themselves. So that combined with the fact that I'm in this mecca of not only music but jazz, the jazz scene is huge in New York and very special and very particular, that all made it so that I could meet all these musicians, and I'm still meeting them. I have a lot of people that I have yet to hear and potentially, if I'm lucky, work with. And I know that's not always an option if you didn't grow up with those circumstances or in a place like that.
Mhm.
So that's a huge pro. I do think that with that comes a little bit of a pressure to be good at everything, even if you haven't quite had the chance to work on it before, because you don't as much have a chance to suck at certain things, which is just part of the process. We have to not be good at things sometimes in order to get to a place where we feel comfortable presenting it as part of what we do. But that can be less of an option sometimes, or maybe it's just part of how you decide to mentally approach it. But I know for me, I felt the need to pretend a little bit or to put pressure on myself to figure out a way to make things work, even when I wasn't sure I could. And I think that can be a little bit emotionally stunting for a lot of people. And I know that I'm far from the only one who feels this way because I went to high school at LaGuardia, which is the performing arts high school, and I loved it. But what a bunch of my friends from there and I can all agree on is that studying one art for hours and hours a day and being told that you're talented and being told that you're going to be a star, XYZ, all of those terms, it puts a lot of pressure and takes away a lot of opportunity to be a kid, to be a person.
Hmm.
And generally, I think when kids are told that they're special, they grow up thinking, if I'm not, what else am I?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing in settings like that because I see it all the time and I know I've experienced it myself. Though sorry, it's a little brutally honest, but yeah, I think with the pros come the cons and it just depends on how you approach it emotionally and mentally. And there's a lot of people that make it work very well, some people where it just might not be for them. It just depends who you are, I think.
How have you felt the pressure and how have you dealt with it?
I'm currently dealing with it. I wouldn't say I'm on the other end of it yet, but I will be. And I do have faith in that. And, I'm doing okay. I'm in a very privileged position to be at school and to be around other musicians and to be gigging. So I can't complain too much.
No,
But
but you
I'd say I am currently in it. I wouldn't say I'm on the other side of it yet.
and Anais, please, you're feel free to, to voice what you're saying. What I hear you saying is, um, I am privileged. I am blessed. I am lucky to be here. I have nothing to complain about. But you're also human, and you're also this pressure you just described. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine having that. And it makes total sense that you feel these things. And, you know, that's a lot of pressure. I can't imagine the weight on your shoulders and let it off a little bit here. And if you want to, what do you do to, if you don't mind me asking, and if it's too personal, tell me, let's move on. But what do you do as an artist with that pressure that you just described? You've been, I read it. I just read it. I probably just put more weight on your back. You're 10, you're 8, you hit this, you did that. What's next? You're accomplishing these incredible things. Wait, and what if tomorrow morning I'm not that anymore? And then what do I do? What do you do? Give some advice because I think you said there are other kids that went to your high school that are in the program with you right now that have grown up like you have, but there are also kids out there listening right now around the world that are listening to you, what you're saying here. What do you do that helps you personally that maybe they could borrow to to deal with that pressure? Are there
I think the first thing that's important to mention is that there isn't just a miracle cure for something like that. And if there was, I would have used it by now. Because, like I said, I am currently in it, and it's nothing serious. We all have our stuff that we need to work through. This is mine. I'd say something that I'm currently trying to work on, and we'll see how it goes, and something I've been told is really important as well, is having something else in your life that you either enjoy or that is important to you in some way that is completely unrelated to the topic that you have spent so much of your life working towards.
mm-hmm.
So, for example, over quarantine, I started writing a little bit and it was pretty casual. And then when I started college, I completely stopped, not on purpose or for any particular reason, except that I didn't really have time and it was too much for my brain to handle. And I've started to very intermittently get back into it. And something about just thinking about it changes my interests, has brought me to some different conclusions about myself. You don't even have to spend hours a day working at it. It shouldn't be work at that point. It's just something else that you enjoy. And that can be hard to find. I was never interested in anything else besides what I had always done. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a very important thing. I think therapy is an important thing. I think whatever any medical professional could suggest for your situation should very much be taken into account, things that I could never suggest for anybody because it's not my place. So there isn't one right answer. It's not that writing will be the answer for everybody or that it will even necessarily be the one and done answer for me. But I think making it so that your life is not about one thing and making it so that you know you have options. Because even a couple months ago, I was in this daze of what am I going to do? I don't know what else there is for me. I don't know where else my life could go. I don't know how I'm supposed to navigate XYZ feelings I'm having while making this work. And now I understand it's okay. I can have a life that is many things. I can be a musician. I can have friends. I can wear all these different hats that we all wear. And people say this all the time, and they told me this for years as I was growing up. Since I was probably 12, I've been hearing this.
Mhm.
And I always said, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. But I never took it that seriously. Not because I thought they were wrong, but because I hadn't yet internalized it. And now that I've internalized it, it makes it so that even when I feel I'm going through it, there is some semblance of hope that one day it'll be okay and I will have figured at least something out. It's a long-winded way of saying
Oh,
don't spend your whole day every single day doing one thing, basically.
mm. No, that's really good advice. You described it too, the high from the high school, the dramatic arts to the um, to college where you're at now, and you grew up. Father's an opera singer, your mom's a violinist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other things, among other things, and they're probably performing, and you're probably a kid backstage, or you're going along to all these shows, and this is what you see and what imprints on you, and this is the way it should be, right? This is what you want to be, and then you get to a point like you've just described where you're like, is that all, and is that all, and that's probably scary. What do you think a college, these art colleges, these colleges that specialize in music or drama, or that really keep you in that lane that you're good at, and help you grow within that, what could they do to help kids realize what you're realizing at this point, and help, because I'm imagine there's a lot of depression and mental health and stress and anxiety. I mean, they make movies about this, right? People like you that go through this pressure, and then they eventually crack. But in the meantime, everybody gets a piece of you, and we all get to be entertained. But what you're going through is scary, and it's hard, and you have to go out and entertain them and keep that smile on your face. Is there anything the schools could do, or that they do, to help with these types of anxieties?
I think a big thing is the faculty, honestly, because while I do understand that we have our responsibilities at the end of the day, regardless of how we may be feeling, and this is very much a generational thing, you know, millennials and Gen Z, we have been taught to put our mental health first before anything. Where I don't want to generalize too much, of course, but that was less of a thing in certain, it also depends on culture and everything. That's not always the case with everybody, depending on their generation or where they come from,
Mm.
where sometimes it's just you have a job to do. And even so, even in my state and my friends' states that we're all in and the things we're all dealing with, even so, regardless, just because of how life is, sometimes you just have a job to do and you just have to do it, whether you're a performer or not. There is an element of performing where you just have to, like you said, smile and entertain, even if you're not feeling that way yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true of all professions. There is a certain level of professionalism and responsibility. So I'm not going to go out here and say that faculty should be cutting all the slack in the world, regardless of circumstance, and nobody should ever have to do anything just because they're feeling a certain way. But one thing that has been very comforting to me is when I've had certain teachers that I can go to where it's not that they're going to solve the issue, it's not that they're going to do anything drastic or completely change my curriculum for me,
Mm-hmm.
but at least I know somebody's on my side.
Yeah.
And I think it's also up to the students, like I said, to take the measures that they need to help themselves because everybody's different. You have to figure out what works for you. I know I'm still doing that. And it's a back and forth. It's the faculty, it's the program, how it's curated, how everybody relates to each other, but it's also on the students' part to not only help themselves, but communicate what's happening. If you're going through something really heavy and it's affecting your school experience, how you are with the other students, and nobody knows why, that's not on the faculty.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary, but that's on you. You have to figure out how to communicate with people, and I have to work on that too. I'm not always communicative, but the times where I have been, even if I don't always feel like it's going to be, it is always a huge weight off my shoulders, at least for a moment. And those moments, whether they last a long time or not, can be a huge stepping stone to feeling better eventually, I think.
Wow. Well said. Very well said.
Thank you.
Anaïs Reno. She's back and she's here with us today. And such a wise, I said this to you off air, and I'm sorry if I keep embarrassing you, but you're such a wise person. And
Well, thank you.
I learn from you whenever we talk. I learn something new. Her debut album is released on April was released on April last year of 2021. She has a new album in the works with a date and a title to be told at a later
Determined in
time.
a way.
We'll tease you. In the meantime, though, do yourself a favor. Love Something. Anais Reno sings Ellington and Strayhorn featuring the Emmett Cohen Trio. Let me just read a review here. I mean, you've got some incredible reviews from some downbeat magazine. Bill Milowski. Reno delivers with rare maturity throughout and delivers with uncanny depth on the melancholy torch song, I'm Never Happy Anymore. And she swings with ferocity and sass on Anita O'Day on the up-tempo closer, Never Been in Love. Stephen Mosher of Broadway World says, this is a once in a lifetime voice. And I couldn't agree more. Also, once in a lifetime person, if you're lucky enough to get to know her like we are on the show today. Look for upcoming tour dates on our website. It's at anaisreno.com. I'm going to spell it for you. ANAISRENO.com. And on Instagram, you can follow her at Anais Reno Jazz. Although I notice you don't post a lot, and I like that because I'm not posting a lot either, and I want to find people like me that don't probably really like to post a lot, and I think we should have an uprising. What do you say? You want to
Uprising of the non-posters.
give it on
Sounds like a
Instagram?
plan.
Just because you're supposed to doesn't mean you have to. We'll be right back with more from Anais Reno. Isn't it? She just great.
Ah, shucks, you're great.
She keeps sticking her head
This
below
is
the
fun.
camera. She's putting her head in the sand. Um, okay, let me just find my place here real quick, Richard. Let me see. See what I meant? Like this is better conversation than I planned here.
No,
Um,
this is really fun. I'm glad I get to talk about this stuff with you.
well,
I don't talk about it with people really, because why would I know? It doesn't just come up.
let's
So,
actually come back with that point. I want to bring that point up because I had to take that commercial break, but you brought something up that I wanted to mention about not talking about it. But your advice was you need to talk about it. It's on you, right? Okay, Richard, I'm ready. I'm ready. I think I'm ready. Should I just go? Let's go. Come on, Richard. You're not going to get your Richard's supposed to get his beard trimmed at 4 o'clock, and I'm not going to let Anais go until we get all the way. I'm just kidding. Do you really need to go at 4? Okay.
Oh, you're frozen.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We are with one of my favorite people in the entire world. Not only is she just an, oh, I don't want to put any more pressure on her. Sings really good. How's that?
You're fine.
Okay. I just love her voice. She's a songbird. She's just a really special person, and we're having such a great conversation. So welcome back. If you've missed any of this, definitely check it out on the podcast. If you're missing it on the radio, you brought up we were talking before the break about when you're down or you feel pressure or you're having a bad day or you're depressed. We all go through that. And what I like what's happening, I'm seeing a sea change where people of all ages are able to say, I'm tired. I don't have it all right now. I need some time to myself. I need to read a book or write or journal or whatever, sing, listen to music, go for a walk. I need time for myself. I need my, if your brain, if it's not charging and if it's not good, that's always been a stigma before, and it shouldn't be. It's like everything else. If you sprain an ankle or your throat is sore from saying, and you can't sing, you've got to take care of everything. And the thing that charges and fires all these neurons and all this, everything that inspires us in our daily lives comes from our brain. And we need it. There's nothing wrong with telling people that you're not okay one day, or maybe a week, or maybe a month, but tell somebody. That was your advice. And before the break, and I think it's good advice. I forgot my question. I talk too much.
Well, I mean, I just want to say I so appreciate you mentioning that, because with that stigma comes us not even talking about the fact that nobody talks about it, When it is this silenced topic, then where do you go from there?
Right.
It's not that we all need to make a scene about what we're going through. Again, it depends on the person, what works for you. Some people work better by themselves, depends on the topic. But I know that for me, at least, I have the very common urge among many people to isolate when I feel a particular negative way. And yeah, of course. I mean, it's such a common thing that we all do, and I think so many people can relate to that. And the thing about isolation and feelings of depression and anxiety is that they function in a cycle. So it starts happening, and then the isolation makes it worse, which makes you isolate more, which makes it worse. And then it becomes this very difficult hole to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the second that somebody else knows you're going through something, it doesn't need to be a burdening thing to talk about or to tell somebody.
Right.
But all of a sudden, it forces you to not be on your own, or at least get it out there. Even mentioning it can help you for, I don't know, 20 minutes. It doesn't have to change the whole situation. It won't necessarily solve everything. But I mean, all we can really ask for, I think, rather than this very distant goal of life happiness, whatever the hell that means, is just moments of relief, I think, from everything that's happening,
Yeah.
Because as we all know, and I'm preaching to the choir of everybody who's already aware of this, life isn't going to take it easy on you. So why don't you just give yourself a second whenever you can? Like, it's not just going to hand you like happiness and peace all the time. So just if talking about it for 20 minutes helps you, I don't know, maybe do it. That's what I've found, and then you can find someone who can relate to you maybe. And that's a huge thing if you're lucky enough.
Find that person. Yeah, and they are there. A lot of times you don't realize they're there, or you don't want to burden them, right? You don't want to burden them with
Yeah.
problems or your thoughts. But that's not they will appreciate that and probably come to you when they have problems or they're
Hmm.
troubled. Um, yeah, I find like the isolation thing that you mentioned in the beginning, where you go isolate. For me, talking all day and out there all day, I need it. I need it more than, I can go. I'll do this interview and I'll go home and I'll just be wiped because you give this energy and you put out energy and you're putting out conversation and we're really having a good conversation, I think. But at the end, you go home and you gave it all, you gave it away, and so you need to recharge. And I think a lot of us don't. We have this, we live in a society where it's just go go go, and you can't be down and get back up and go tomorrow. And what are your next 10 things coming up? And the isolation really helps me. Um, but what happens, I notice people that love you worry about you. Why aren't you answering your
Hmm.
phone? Why can't I text you every 5 minutes like normal? Or you've been talking to me all week and then you disappear for 2 days. I've never been able to explain that personally. Do you find that where you've got people that care about you, love you, and then you're like, I need some time, and you don't look at your phone? Do they worry? Or if you uh, go away and hide for a little bit to get healthy?
Of course. I mean, that's the thing. I think there's good isolation and then there's less good isolation. I don't know that it's so black and white as right and wrong, good and bad, but like you said, there's the type where you're charging and you're getting back the energy you need because especially like with a career that you have interviewing and promoting and you have this Birdland show now, you have to be on all the time, as we all do in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you need a moment for that, whether it is to recharge or because you're actually going through something and it's your instinct to be by yourself, yeah, it can definitely worry people. And I know I'm not always great with communication, and that's why I've been trying to be better with it because I also know what it's like to be on the receiving end. But with the whole idea of burdening somebody, I do think that sometimes it can be a little bit unrealistic to think that if we talk about something, especially if it's something heavy, that the people around us who genuinely love us are going to be completely unaffected in an ideal world.
Right.
I just don't think that that entirely makes sense. If you are going through something that is incredibly hard for you and that weighs very heavily, the person who loves you is going to feel it too to some extent, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more a matter of who in your life can carry that, who in your life finds that worth it. It's just part of relationships. I don't think it's a necessity that nobody is affected by what you're going through because we're affected by what other people go through and we're okay with it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Once in a while, we do need some time to not give and we just need to be there for ourselves. But that's why everybody's just trying to find the balance, you know?
Right.
It's not one or the other, either unload all the time or isolate and never talk to anybody. It's the balance, which is so hard to find, and I don't think anybody ever really finds it because who has ever quite figured everything out? I don't think
No, and we're
there is
not
an
going
answer to
to.
that,
But
but
talking
that's my
like
thought.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, and but we're not going to find the answer. No one will. Nobody has the answer. But you can you can do this. You can have a conversation, hopefully, with someone. You can
Hmm.
reach out, and people do care. And find the thing that makes you happy. Distract yourself. If it's exercise, if it's music, it should be. Let me tell you what you should be doing. I'm gonna actually. I may have discovered the answer on this show today. The answer is listen to this album. Love Something. Anaïs Reno sings Ellington and Strayhorn featuring the Emmett Cohen Trio. you can't help but feel better. There are songs to make you
Oh,
dance. There are
shucks.
songs to make you laugh. There are songs to make you cry, and she'll bring you up and down, and you're going to really enjoy it. If you get a chance to see her on tour or playing somewhere, go. Upcoming tour dates are on our website at anaisreno.com, and she's on Instagram at Anais Reno Jazz. Quick question. I do have to go. Richard's waving at me, but for a break, and we'll be right back. Does the audience, you mentioned writing helps you. Does the audience give you a feel when you're out in front of an audience? Even if you don't feel good when you walk out there, once they start cheering and clapping and listening to your music, does that help you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why during the pandemic all the performers were so upset. You know, it's not that there wasn't a way to perform. We had videos and live streams, but of course, there's a certain energy and a certain real connection that
Mhm.
comes from performing. I think it depends on the performance. Of course, we all have days where we feel particularly electric with the energy, and then days where we're just getting through it. It's unrealistic to think that it will always be one particular upward slope. But of course, an audience, especially a nice one, a good one, will totally make things better, at least for a moment.
Anais Reno. We'll be right back. So good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. We're not finished. Don't go anywhere. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing all this stuff yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me. I don't, obviously, I don't want to, be like, you're my therapist now. But,
No, I'm here if you
um,
need me. Dial. You might.
but
I was actually gonna thinking of asking. Uh, are you available? If somebody heard this interview and they said they wanted. They're like, I'm feeling that way. And I guess you don't know me, but I'm a fan. And are you? Can they message you somewhere, or do you care?
of course. Are you kidding? Yeah.
Okay. You so can I mention that on
Yeah, of course. Like my Instagram is good.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll let you tell them where to go. But
Mhm.
Richard, wake up. I'm actually, I don't know how you can sleep. This is good stuff. Did you hear Richard? Did you hear him?
Oh, not really, no.
He said, this is great stuff. I'm so impressed with this young lady.
Oh, shucks. Thank you, Richard.
Shucks, he says. um, let me see if there's any questions here we're gonna get to. All right, hold on one second. Actually, I moved my appointment to 5, so you're good. Sorry, Richard. Thank you. You're the best. No, hey, not a problem. All right, here we go, my friend. Segment 3. Do a short one, right? Well, hold on. So let me read a poem. Can I read a poem?
Okay.
And then, Anais, then I'm going to go to you and ask you about, hey, if somebody's listening right now, can they contact you? And then give
Mhm.
out that information. And then we're going to take another break because we got to do a real short one here. We went long
Mhm.
at first, and then we'll come back and we'll finish. We'll finish it up, right, Richard? For 5 or 10 minutes or something. Okay. Okay. So we'll just do you and I will do a quick one here together. Um, yeah, because I know there are people out there that are going to go, oh my God, this is me. And it might be right on the brink, that it's happened before where listeners have,
Oh.
emailed and said, that person you had on saved me. Yep.
Oh, wow.
The poet Allen Ginsberg wrote a poem that's pretty famous about New York City called My Sad Self. And he wrote it to Frank O'Hara. I'm going to read it here for you. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on Ace. Um, Sometimes when my eyes are red, I go up on top of the RCA building and I gaze at my world, Manhattan, my buildings, streets I've done feats in, lofts, beds, cold water flats. On Fifth Avenue below, which I also bear in mind, it's ants' cars, its little yellow taxis, men walking the size of specks of wool, panorama of the bridges, sunrise over Brooklyn Machine, sun go down over New Jersey, where I was born, and Patterson, where I played with ants. My later loves on 15th Street, my greater loves on Lower East Side, and my once fabulous armors in the Bronx, far away. Paths crossing in these hidden streets, my history summed up, my absences and ecstasies in Harlem, sun shining down on all I own. In one eye blink to the horizon, in my last eternity, matter is water. Sad, I take the elevator and I go down, pondering, and walk on the pavements, staring into all men's plate glass faces, questioning after who loves, and stop, bemused, in front of an old automobile shop window, standing lost in calm thought, traffic moving up and down Fifth Avenue blocks behind me, waiting for a moment when time to go home and cook supper and listen to the romantic wars on the radio. All movement stops, and I walk in the timeless sadness of existence, tenderness flowing through the buildings, my fingertips touching reality's face, my own face streaked with tears in the mirror of some window at dusk where I have no desire for bonbons or to own the dresses or Japanese lampshades of intellection. Confused by the spectacle around me, man struggling up the street with packages, newspapers, ties, beautiful suits toward his desire, man, woman streaming over the pavements, red lights clocking, hurried watches and movements at the curb. All these streets leading so crosswise, honking lengthily by avenues, stocked by high buildings, or crusted into slums through such halting traffic, screaming cars and engines, so painfully to this countryside, this graveyard, this stillness, on deathbed or mountain once seen, never regained or desired in the mind to come where all Manhattan that I seem must disappear. This is written on 1958, October, New York. And I just thought it summed up New York in so many different ways and feelings you have. What do you think?
Oh, it's beautiful. I've never heard that.
No?
Oh, I liked it. It had this whole sum up of his history, but also the fact that there's a lot of melancholy in there. It's beautiful. Can you send me that actually when we're
I
done?
will.
I
I
like
will.
that.
And just to repeat the poem, My Sad Self by Allen Ginsberg. It was written to Frank O'Hara. And before we take another real quick break here, Anais, we talked off air, and I mentioned to you, I've had listeners email me, text me, or reach out to the guest that was on a show and tell them I was there, I was on the edge, and I heard what you said, and it really helped me. And I don't think, honestly, I'm not just saying this. I don't think I've had such a great conversation with someone so honestly about what you go through as a young artist, as a person in this world, the pressures and the anxiety that may arise. You have really given some good advice. There are things that help you, and I think will probably help listeners. And I wanted to encourage the listeners to reach out to you, Anais Reno, if you reach them. And are you okay with that? Or, could you
Oh,
help if someone wanted to ask for advice or just talk to you?
well, thank you. I mean, I would be honored really if anybody thought that anything I've said today meant anything to them. I mean, I'm still figuring it out in a very big way, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm just on the other side of everything and I'm speaking from this wizened stance. But yeah, if anybody just wants to talk about anything, I could use it too. So I would love that. I mean, you can just message me on Instagram. As Jeremiah said, it's just Anaïs Reno Jazz. So yeah, no pressure, of course, but I know I would greatly appreciate it as well.
We're all just figuring it out. And we're
Of
figuring
course.
it out with Anais Reno. We'll be right back. Richard, how much time do we have left? Okay. Because I want all of this to go on air, Anais, so I don't want him to have to chop anything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would say I'm going to keep you here for a long time. Are you okay on time, Anais?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. I got a little bit of time. Yeah.
Okay. We'll wrap it up here. Let me see if there's any New York questions. We promised everybody we are going to talk about New York, and we didn't really, but this is much better. Your on Ace's New York. All right, got a couple questions. We'll talk New York from here on out. Okay.
Cool.
That's your New York.
I'm going to give you, you got 2 minutes.
Oh, all right.
Oh dear. Okay, I won't answer super long like I usually do.
Um. All right.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We are with the great Anais. Oh, just good enough. Anais Reno. No stress. Pressure. She's awesome. You got to check out her album, her current album out, her debut album, Love Something. Anais Reno sings Ellington and Strayhorn featuring the Emmett Cohen Trio. Go to her website at anaisreno.com. Welcome back. We only have 2 minutes on the clock, so that's why I'm talking so fast, like a I don't know, like whatever. Tell us about your neighborhood, your favorite neighborhood, and why in New York City.
I honestly very much like the one where I live. I mean, I live on the Upper West Side near the Hudson River. It's very beautiful. It's close enough to everything where things are accessible, but it's still a lot quieter. There's a sense of community there. And of course, because of that scenery, it's just gorgeous. So, as cheesy as it is, where I grew up would probably be my favorite.
Hmm. And do you walk to a local restaurant there, a favorite restaurant?
I don't know if I'd say I have one favorite restaurant around there, but there's one that I have some nice memories of. It's on 72nd between, I want to say, Amsterdam and Columbus, and it's called Legend 72. And they have these pork dumplings that have soup inside them.
Ooh.
And I have this memory of them because my friend from middle school took me there for the first time in 8th grade. We went throughout high school, and just recently, we go to different colleges. We met up and went there and got the same thing. And so, because of that sentimental value, and also just because the food is good, I very much like that place.
We'll put that out there. We'll put the website out there when we post this show. How about writing? You mentioned that one of the things that you do to really help yourself and re-energize is writing. Where do you go to write? Do you have a coffee shop, a little hideaway? You don't have to give out the address so your fans don't follow.
Honestly, I just like to do it at home. I like the comfort of a bed. I'm not a big desk person, and I like when it's quiet. I don't particularly like to go in public for something like that. And it happens so, like, the times in which I do that are so few and far between that it tends to be at home anyway. I like the sanctuary of that
I
personally.
like that answer. And that's your comfort area, right? Your
Mhm.
re-energizing makes you happy. If New York as a musician, and musicians will understand this and I won't and nobody else will, and maybe the question doesn't even make sense and you can tell me that, but if New York were a couple of music notes of your favorite music notes, what would those notes be if you had to describe New York with music?
By music notes, do you mean like the literal like C or E or
Yeah,
something like
yes.
that? Huh.
Does the question even make sense
Well,
to the musician?
I kind of have like a little bit of synesthesia, like I associate notes with colors and stuff like that. I don't know. I've
Okay, tell me what colors.
um well, that's a different, I don't know. It's always been some sort of blue to me, to be honest. When I think of New York, I think of like a sky blue, and that's probably honestly because when you see all those postcards and propaganda of New York growing up, it's always the skyline.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, in my head, it's blue.
I like that answer.
in
And you know,
some weird way.
it actually works. I put in a Counting Crows song called, because this made me think of it. I put in a piece called Blue Buildings, Beautiful Blue Buildings, I think is the title of the song. And well,
There you go.
you'll hear it if you listen back. All right, I'm going to let you go. But before you do, you mentioned your dorm roommate and a couple people that have, you mentioned a professor or someone that has helped you that you can go to and talk to. And you mentioned a couple people that are, you know, working as hard as you are on their craft. Do you want to drop a couple names? Anybody that's got another record
I'd
out
love
into
to.
yours that we can promote here? Anybody you want to promote and
I
thank?
would love to. A professor who has been really huge for me within that is Pete Malinverni, and I actually knew him before I even came to the school. He's a pianist, and up until last semester, he was the head of the program as well. He's still teaching at the school though, and he and I have a very close relationship. And also, I, you know, I just have some really great friends over here who I feel very grateful to have met. My friend Lillian, my friend Bridget, my boyfriend Samir, um, just these really wonderful, incredibly smart people at this school. And my teacher, Alexis Cole, also Sherry Overholt, who you mentioned in my bio earlier.
Mhm.
And of course, I'm not involved with the school, my parents and my grandparents. It's just, I do feel very fortunate to have a support system and people who are also just trying to figure it out and who are incredibly intelligent at doing so.
That's nice. Before the last one, your mom's name, because she's actually been on the show. So you should, if you've listened and you loved Anais and her music, check out her mom. Her mom has a great violinist and plays different instruments. But your mom's name
Julie Kurtzman,
and your dad's name.
Camille Reno.
And this is Anais Reno, and we are going to play for you right now off of the album we've been mentioning. And I'm going to mention again here just a minute ago. I'm just a lucky so and so, Anais Reno, and you can pick up the album, and you should love something. Anais Reno sings Ellington and Strayhorn, featuring the Emmett Cohen Trio. Again, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's a great
I
hour.
did. Thank you so much for having me back. And thank you, Richard. This is so much fun. I love talking with you.
And you have my number. If you need a therapist, I'm here for you anytime.
Ditto.
Okay, everybody, thank you once again. Communicate, but listen more and evolve, and have a great week.
You're clear.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so
Cheers,
much
by
fun.
the
I
way.
love talking with you.
I love talking to you as well. And I'll send this to you